But I'm not alone here, thankfully. It will be a lot to fill out all the time. Thankfully, I have three much more smart people here with me. And I think I would like to let them introduce themselves. So let's start with Anna.
So, hi, my name is Anna, and I'm from Estonia, and I work at Coffee Stain Studios as a 3D artist.
Hi, I'm Tara Wahlbäck, and I work as a senior character artist at Stunlock Studios.
Yeah, my name is Erik Johansson. I work at Palindrome Interactive as a 3D artist and assistant art director.
And the topic of this panel is draw or sculpt your own career path, which is like we basically want people to get an idea of how to get into the industry and how to plan your career as an aspiring game developer. So let's start then. We start with Anna. How people maybe saw your talk a few minutes earlier, but
hope so.
If you would like to say it again, how did you get into the industry, and what was that process like in getting into your current job? Let's say.
Right. It was not easy. Let's start there. First, there was an internship, and that was just applying to different studios and trying to see what I would like and if anyone would like me to work for them. But then later, it was mainly just having connections with people who I studied with. So just knowing a person who, introduced me to a studio where he was having internship, and they got interested in me and they hired me. So that was my first job at Starbreeze in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And that's how I moved to Sweden. But then things went on, and I felt like it's not really the thing maybe that I would want to do. So I was looking for something else that would be a bit smaller, because that was AAA and that was a bit too much. But then eventually I got contacted by some old friends at Coffee Stain, and they were like, hey, we have a position for you and maybe you're interested. So we had a chat, and they just, we liked each other. I liked the office as well, and I liked the people and what they're working on. So it felt like I would be the good fit in there, and that would be the stuff that is fun for me to work on.
Yeah, so you basically got headhunted into the current job you have. They pinpointed you as their recruit.
Exactly. They were looking at me for a while now, but then I wanted to finish the Overkill's The Walking Dead when we were working on it, and I really wanted to feel like, okay, I'm done with that and I can move on, because they were kind of poking me before. But then I only said like, okay, let's talk about it once I'm done, and then I can move on, because it felt like the right thing to do.
Right. And Tara, you're at Stunlock, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come to pass that you landed there?
Just by a happy accident, really. I started off at the Game Assembly in Malmö and worked various studios from there. Also did a short stint at Overkill before moving here, but we kind of held off going to a smaller studio because we weren't really sure if they had a place for me. And as soon as a position opened up, we moved down here. My husband has a pretty intimate relationship with Stunlock Studios, so he was pretty eager to get back, and I just tagged along. Yeah.
Right, and Erik, you're at Palindrome. We spoke to your colleague Atle before. How did you come to work at Palindrome?
Well, I have a bit of a longer journey maybe. I didn't really work so much in the games industry actually before I got this work. I did some, other things pretty much. I also did a short stint as a teacher actually for 3D. And then I pretty much found an ad on Facebook that said, we need a 3D artist. And they interviewed me for it pretty much. And then I moved all the way across Sweden down here.
Right.
And I ended up as a junior artist, and then later on got more and more responsibility because I wanted to, because we're a small studio and you can do that.
And where were you based before?
I was in Skellefteå.
All right.
I studied at the university there for 3D art, which is more people there go for film than for games. So I'm one of the few actually that went for this.
Right. So it's quite a distance to move then.
Yeah, all the way across Sweden pretty much.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
Yeah. And for you as well, Anna, you moved a fair bit longer than that as well. So
Yeah, it was quite a path from Estonia to Netherlands
Yeah.
to study, and then Belgium internship, Stockholm, and then Richter.
yeah, you're very well traveled.
Yes.
How do you feel that those experiences helps you in your current work? Having a lot of-
Yeah, I think so. I think it's super fun to work in a diverse team with a lot of people with different backgrounds. And it's just that everyone has their own backstory that they can bring to the game development and
Yeah.
have their own unique ideas to share. So I do think that that kind of experience is really great. And personally, for me, I feel way more confident with starting off in a new place and not being too scared of being alone in a city that, you know, I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So I think it's essential.
Yeah, and that's a great part of being in a city that's not huge, as Skövde, as you said. Maybe it's a selling point for the companies here as well. That, I mean, Stockholm or other major cities could end up feeling like, as you said, like maybe that's a USP for for Skövde as a game.
Could be. I
game
mean,
center.
I would say the games industry here in Skövde is way more connected
Yeah.
with each other than in Stockholm. We had some meetups in Stockholm, but everyone kind of keeps to themselves, to their own, you know, collectives. But here it really feels like everyone is just free to talk to anyone from different companies, and everyone kind of knows people. So it feels like a way more welcoming and friendly environment, I would say,
Yeah.
if I would compare the two.
Bit of a gaming Illuminati here then.
Yeah, in a way.
Shady network of people. Yeah, sounds awesome. But Tara, do you think if for people, for students and others watching, aspiring to get into game development, what do you think is the best way to present your work or your talents in a portfolio? What would you say is like a good way to present your talents?
Have a clear idea of what it is you want to present. If you want to be an environment artist, then present environments. And if you want to be a character artist, present characters and in the style that you feel is you're most passionate about. If you're a jack of all trades, then present all your diverse traits, but don't feel pressured to be broad if you want to limit yourself to one certain style. That's fine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Erik, how did you find getting into the, like as you said, they interviewed you, and what was your like? What did you feel like was your main selling points for yourself when interviewing? And if you would apply for a new job now, what would you like?
Well,
present?
I'd say that I'm willing to do pretty much anything in the production. Like, I'm not afraid to. I came in as an environment artist, but I've done props, I've done FX,
Yeah.
I've done cinematics, I've done scripting. I tried everything, because in a small studio, you might need to do more than just like, yeah, I'm gonna make stones for 6 months. That's fine if you work at like EA DICE, but if you're working in a 10-man team, you probably can't do that. So you have to be able to take the step to try new things, and it's really important. It's really fun too. Like, you would be surprised of how much fun it is to vary your work. Not to say that it's not fun to make characters for like all the time, because that's fun too.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid.
Yeah, and maybe that's a way to build your portfolio as well. For
Yeah.
I mean, it's good if you're happy at the place you are, but you don't know what the future holds. So maybe it's a good way to future-proof yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Anna, you've been in a few places when now working, and what are the things you see when new people comes into your studios? What are the stuff that makes you interested in a person or their work? Like, how would you? What tips would you give to pique interest for someone looking for work in the industry?
Right. So basically, if someone is new in the company, it's normal that the first few maybe weeks are going to feel a bit awkward because you don't really know people. But maybe a good thing is, at least for me as an introvert, is to try to find a person that you have certain interests, and just peek over their shoulders what they're working on. Maybe ask them like, oh, how did you do it? And don't be afraid to ask stupid questions, because there are no stupid questions. It's just you showing interest, and you never know what kind of tips you might get, and maybe you'll get like a better head start in the new company. Because people are going to know like, oh, that's the curious person, and they're going to be interested in sharing their knowledge, because people like to talk about themselves and their achievements. So that would be probably the biggest tip. And just also try to loosen up and be yourself and be proactive. Don't sit without any tasks. Like, actually, if you have nothing to do, just go out there and be like, hey, I really want to like do something else, and I have nothing now. So that would be it.
Yeah, and if we focus in on portfolios, as we spoke about before, what's the major do's and don'ts when putting together a portfolio?
A lot of people that I noticed have they have that weird incentive to put as many things as they can.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes not the way to go, because it's only going to be as good as your worst piece. And having those not so good pieces is going to be something that people would pour too much attention to. Like, they would focus on that and be like, oh, but that's here as well. So that person thinks that this is worthy to be along the other things.
Yeah.
So it would be a big question about your artistic taste as well. So I would say keep it only to the pieces you're really sure about, and maybe something that already some other people saw and gave feedback, so that it's not just you who saw it. And just in general, like, keep it clear of what do you want to do. So what if you're going to be hired, what do you want to do, and what do you want to work on at the position, and if you're ready to do it as your workday.
Yeah. And Tara, if you would put together a portfolio today, what would you focus on, and what would be the do's and don'ts for you?
I think accessibility to the portfolio is quite important. Like, when I get a link, I want to instantly see what it is I'm looking at. I don't want to go through like 5 different tabs and to try to find the work. So I'd probably do much more streamlined than what I had before. I think I would focus on a portfolio that reflects the position I'm looking for. So if I wanted to be a generalist, I would try to show a range, but like Anna said, be consistent in the quality of the range and not just put in things because. Like, I don't have to see 15 barrels that I put into the game just because I needed 15 barrels. I would take the perfect barrel.
That one perfect barrel.
That we're all looking for all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Erik, do you think, for students watching, do you think you should be broad, or do you think you should focus in on your subjects when you're studying to become a game developer? Do you think it's a good thing to be?
I think it's better to test everything, because just because you think you like the one thing the best doesn't mean that you actually do like that the best. It might be you have passion for it, but it's not something that you can sit 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 10 years doing, because that's partly why I like being a generalist instead, because I do like doing environment art like that. That's my favorite thing. But all the other things are really nice too, and it gives some spice to my workday, because sometimes I might do environment art. I do it mostly, but sometimes it's like, I need some effects to spice up my environment art. I need to art direct it better, so I need to know art direction bits. I need to know camera work to present my art. So like, don't be laser focused. It's fine if you are. If you really, really know what you want to do, be laser focused and do that one thing. You can build a career of that too, but it's harder, probably.
Yeah. What have been your, if you would point to one thing that you are really happy with, like one piece of art or something like that during your career this far, what would that be? Like something you would put on your best display case at home when people, the first thing people see when they walk into your home? What would that be? Do you have an?
I think initially that would be the work that I've done for actual game projects, because that's something to be really proud of, because it's a team effort, and in the end games are team effort. So showing your contribution and showing what you're capable of while being in a team surrounded with people with, you know, diverse positions.
Yep.
I would say that is the most important. But then again, I also love my personal pieces that I, you know, maybe I sketched something myself and then I thought, oh, that would look cool in 3D. So I just make that. And then I think, oh, but it's going to look a bit empty on an empty canvas. So let's add some background, some environment around it. So those are kind of the passion projects that are just driven by my own motivation to create art.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something important to do. And some people kind of underestimate that in the end, it's also important to put some time in your art apart from your work. So just in the evenings or weekends, because you should stay curious about things you're doing. And that will really help you to maybe find new methods and techniques and, you know, something new to try. And that will also in turn help at work.
Yeah, and I guess that's a challenge for many people working in the games industry, because like most of the people are like nerds, like gaming is their main hobby and way of life almost.
Yeah.
So keeping that dynamism and keeping it fresh and not like, because things that you need to do, that you must do, is have a tendency to become a bit stale. So
Yep.
maybe that's a good way to keep the spark going as well. What was the biggest surprise for you when you started working in the industry, Tara?
I think the most surprising thing was how you put pressure on yourself, I think. Because no one puts that pressure on you most of the time unless it's like a crunch period. But you yourself are surrounded by such talent that you almost drive yourself mad with just trying to keep up and want to be like among the greats and try to be as good as possible. I don't think I was prepared as much for that. I think if I had like a little bit of a forewarning that it's okay to cool down, don't have to keep up, you're already good, you've landed your position, you don't have anything to prove.
And if I would add on that, it's super nice to be among people who are better than you, because you can learn so much from them. And being the smartest person in the room is not always the best, because you kind of feel like you've already achieved something. And you kind of like lazy, you know, you feel like going a bit, you know, like relaxed. But in a way, staying curious and learning new things is so important to just keep yourself in the loop and be relevant in the industry. Yeah,
and that's something that you could have as a comfort when you're starting out, as you said. If you feel like you have a bit of an imposter syndrome or worried if you're going to be good enough, that's a good way to view it. It's like I'm at the perfect spot right now because I can learn tons of things of those more experienced. Yeah, it's a nice twist on that. And for you, Erik, like working as something else and then almost like slipping into the games industry, what were your like biggest surprises when coming into starting the work?
Well, like how close-knit it is, I guess, because everybody really shares like the project vision, the passion. Like everybody wants to make something really, really, really good. Whilst maybe like when I was teaching, you teach people how to do things, but it's not the same like cohesive thing there. And that's also very dependent on the people studying, of course. But really that part where everybody comes together with a real team effort or many years, usually, to make something like bigger than all themselves, it's just fun. And you make really good friends from it as well.
And do you think it's a trait of the games industry and other industries which are like highly connected to something you are passionate about. Like there are many industries that maybe not necessarily your main interest that you're working. Do you think that being in an industry like the game industry is like extra onus on like working tightly together?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's project based, and everybody wants to do the best they can, and everybody's like doing the best of their craft as they can. Like the environment artists, the programmers, the designers, everybody's like, this is my baby, and I want it to be the biggest one in the world. Everybody wants to be the best, and like that does hubris and stuff to you as well, because like, yeah, my thing's the best, but it's not, and like then you get depressed, but then it's fine anyway because you did the best you could.
Yeah.
And you have to be proud of what you make as well.
And picking up on something you said now and also before, having that ambition and having a lot of ambitious people, how have you found managing that? Because people are like in risk of like overextending themselves if they are too ambitious. How have you found like studio managers and the culture at work helping with that, like coping with pressure you put on yourself?
Well, first of all, a lot comes from just a simple dialogue and talking to people, because sometimes they feel like they have the biggest pressure in the world. Everything just stands on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Not true. It's a team effort, and it's important to just, keep in contact with your colleagues and people who are maybe in your team, like if it's our team, and just talk to them and see how they feel about it. And if you feel like the most pressured person, I would say also either talk to your direct manager who gives you all those tasks, and he's also human, and sometimes they overextend because they see you're effective in your work. So they would be like, oh, I can, add more to that person because he's so fast. But it's important to actually be honest about your personal deadlines and your personal scheduling, and just share it with your team.
Because I think many young people starting to become developers maybe have a tendency to not listen to their own like signals or stress and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's
could be
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Especially with interns or juniors, they quite often overextend themselves and stay till super late at work because they want to prove themselves as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it's very important to care about mental health and care about your own needs, because you're not going to function well if you don't have enough rest.
And at that, speaking to that as well, what would you, when you studied to become a developer in different capacities, what would you wish you had known when studying? Is there some things you had? I wish I'd known this before entering the industry, Tara.
I think I wish, because I was one of those interns and juniors that took it upon themselves to work until the early hours in the morning every weekend. I missed birthdays and Christmas and things just to try to get a head start. But I wish I could have just told myself to stop and just take a breath, take a night off, get some sleep. It's fine. You're not going to miss that much. If anything, you'll just get better if you're well rested, if you've eaten properly. Because you're not going to miss that much experience, so to say, or that much knowledge. If anything, you'll lose it if you're sleep deprived. I also think I would have wanted to kind of, instead of spreading yourself too thin on doing everything and learning everything, and just have like a little list of things like, okay, well, I'll focus on this thing instead, and try to understand it rather than just devour information and hope it retains.
Yeah. And Erik, speaking to that, what would you give aspiring developers a few tips, or like the main tip you would give?
Like I'd say two maybe. when you're looking for inspiration and looking what other people have done, like remember that ArtStation or whatever page you're looking at, that's the best, only the best things they do. It's only the success stories. There's nothing there that's like less than perfect.
Yeah, the Instagram disease, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Like you won't always be able to do that, probably, unless you're some superhuman. But like most of us can't, and don't be afraid to fail either. Like you can't always succeed. It can't always be perfect. You can't always do 110% because you're just going to burn out. Like take care of yourself, like Tara mentioned, because you're going to do better things then. You can be only so productive until it gets like, well, diminishing returns of like 6 hours a day. And the more other media or things you consume, the better your work will be instead. And you will be oh so happy about it after 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to burn out otherwise. And that nobody wants that.
And for you, Anna, what would be the tips you would give to people watching this who aspire to become a developer?
I would say it's also comes a lot from respect to other people. It's so easy to get, like we talked about Instagram, it's so easy to get angry online and make a lot of enemies. That's something as like a big no-no, because everyone knows each other in it's such a tight network. So just be very respectful and also engage with people. Because you can learn a lot from them, even online. If you're just someone posted something and you really love it, but how did they make it? Ask it. They're going to be super happy to share the details and the tools they used and any methods. I've actually learned a lot from just comments that people posted and asked or asked myself. So I would say that would be it. And also, don't be afraid to get inspired by not only games, but also other things like history or even anatomy of creatures or anything like that, because that will make your art so much more interesting. And it would also feel for any hiring managers that you can bring something new and fresh, like a new perspective to the team that is already there, because you have those cool ideas that you can share with others.
Yeah. And for you, Tara, then? For you, tips for to hand out to people eager to get into the industry?
I absolutely agree. Consume art and movies and go beyond just games, because after a while it becomes kind of introspective. Everyone does the same thing. I think also be realistic of what your success is. If it is likes and views and whatever on social media, that might be a shallow form of success. But if that's what you're into, then go ahead. But maybe have a more personalized success. Like for me, just getting noticed through my work is successful enough, and me doing my best, not necessarily being the best.
Yeah. And do you have any shining examples of things that inspire you right now, where we are right now? Media, games, whatever. Do you have any examples with like, this is something I would like to not recreate, but aspire to get to the same places as your example?
Is it for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
At the moment, we're making a lot of environment and nature stuff for our game. So I'm being super inspired by botanical things, like how plants grow and how their little, seeds look like and all of that. So I consume a lot of those biology books now.
Yeah, that's cool.
As well as some history, because it's so cool to apply like things how they were in prehistoric era to a world that we are creating. So those are all the things that I'm trying to bring to our project now, and it's just super fun to explore.
So is this the new project, or is this satisfactory?
It's satisfactory. Right. We're making the world even better.
Yeah, that's nice, because it's still in early access, is it?
Yes, it's early access at the moment.
So you have a big, you have a big opportunity to still create, like to switch focuses and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. And we're kind of going through biomes and, improving what we can and just seeing like, hey, maybe there's something else that we can add like a flair to. That's kind of a good thing about early access, I guess, because you can still make those things and people are not too mad at you because they know it's early access, hopefully. But yeah, those kind of are things that don't penetrate the core gameplay because it's already there and people can play it.
Yeah.
But these are still things that add some nice cherry on top.
Yeah, and is that a new thing for you, interesting yourself in like botanic stuff, or is it something you have had with you before, or is?
As a kid, I actually liked a lot of those books. I was stealing them from my grandma, who was a teacher in biology and chemistry. So I liked it before, and I'm super happy that I can dust off the old books and actually dive into them again. As well as, like I said, history or maybe even some science, like connected with space, because our planet is an alien one, so that's also super fun.
Cool to be able to loop back to old interests of yours and old.
And it's actually great because, like I said before, you bring so much of your background into the project and things that you're interested in, but maybe not so connected with game development. But that's still stuff you can channel your inspiration from and channel some cool ideas from.
Yeah. And for you, Tara, what's your inspirations right now?
I've been delving into a lot of mythology lately.
Yeah. Nordic or Greek?
Mostly Nordic,
right.
but also dabbled in a little bit of a Celtic and just their like the clothes, the weapons they use, like how it looked like.
I'm working with characters for Stunlock, which is like for. What's your favorite character that you've created, on your team this far?
I think the characters I did for Battle Right have been super fun. Because before that, I did a lot of mostly realistic characters, and suddenly I had to do like hand-painted textures, and it was kind of going back to like what I used to do way before I got into the industry.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to kind of brush off those skills and feel a little bit like a noob again.
Yeah, and those characters are really distinct. I really like the Battle Right characters as well. So you've really you've really managed to make them distinct, I think.
Thank you.
And Erik, we are running a bit long, but I also want to hear, before we wrap up, I want to hear your inspirations as well.
Well, I can't really talk much about them because, well, we are working together with Coffee Stain on a new project.
Yeah, right.
And that's pretty much all I can say about it.
Okay, yeah.
But like my latest inspirations before that, when we were working on Immortal Realms, that was like, everything was medieval, fantasy, dark castle, dark Gothic themes, environments, like the German countryside.
Yep.
It's really, really pretty. It's like all the greens, all the yellow colors, everything there. So it's like, take inspiration from nature because you have everything there you will ever need. Like, you want to do aliens? Go look deep into the sea. You're going to get everything you need there.
Yeah.
Don't have to go further.
Yeah, so there's a nature theme here going on. That's good.
Yeah.
Sustainability focus. Okay, I'd like to extend a huge thanks for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the viewers. So thanks a lot for that.